So in this video, I'm going to go through exactly the point at which you should hire a media buyer for your agency. There's a lot of conflicting opinions out there. You should hire when you start. You should hire once you can't handle any more clients. You should hire only ever where it hurts. And I'm going to talk about that concept as well and how that really does apply to your agency, but also how there's a caveat to that when it comes to hiring a media buyer for your agency. And I'm going to detail 3 scenarios. And if you're an agency owner, you are going to fall into one of those 3 scenarios, depending on where you're at within your agency. And it is also depending on where you're at within your agency. And the point at which you should hire a media buyer is dependent on where you're at within your agency. And I think the last scenario 3 that I'm going to cover in this video is going to be where majority of you are going to fall into. And so make sure you stick to the end to see exactly what you should do in that scenario and at which point you should hire, and also what steps you should take in order to not only hire the best candidate possible, but also ensure that your clients get the best results as they physically can from your agency services. Now, as always, guys, these videos are highly valuable, and I think this video in particular is going to seriously change the trajectory that your agency is on, because results are honestly so important when it comes to running your agency. So many people just don't talk about it, but it's actually one of the most important things in my opinion. And so hiring the right media buyer at the right time is going to be very important, and you're going to be able to hire the right media buyer at the right time if you watch this video to the end. And all that I ask in return is that you go ahead and take the split second that it does take to smash the like button and subscribe to the channel down below. And with that being said, let's jump straight into it. So these scenarios are entirely based off of what is best for the client, okay? That is how you need to look at your agency. If you look at your agency through any other lens other than what's best for the client, you're not gonna have an agency for a very long time, and it's not gonna be a very profitable one at that. And if it is, then it's gonna nosedive very quickly if you don't routinely do what is best for the client. And so within each scenario, we're gonna look at a couple things. Number one, we're gonna look at ensuring profit margins are still nice and high and nice and sizable for you as a business owner. We're also going to look at ensuring that the client's best interest is kept at heart and they're getting the best possible results that they physically can. And we're also going to look at ensuring that you're hiring at the right stage in the right manner, and you're not adding unnecessary fat to your agency where you become bloated, you become obviously profit margins naturally decrease and whatnot. So we're going to keep those things in mind at each stage. So let's get into the first stage. So the first stage is you know how to run ads. You're a just turned agency owner from maybe you've had an experience in drop shipping, maybe you've had experience as a media buyer at another bigger agency, maybe you've ran ads in or for some family member, whatever it is, right? You've got experience, real world experience, by the way, not theory, that's coming in a following stage, but you've got real world black and white experience. You've spent X amount, you've brought in X amount, right? And making sure those amounts are nice. There's a nice difference between them, right? And also it's for the e-commerce niche. If you've got experience running lead gen ads, it's a completely different story. If you've got experience running lead gen ads, I would make sure that you listen to the second stage, because I think that's going to be more suited to you. If you've got experience running drop shipping brands, e-commerce brands, you're a media buyer at another agency where they were working with e-com brands, whatever it is, you've got that experience, then in this scenario, you can leverage that experience. You know how to get results. And so what I recommend to do if you're just starting out as an agency owner in this first stage and you fall into this first stage, then get your first 4 to 5 clients on your own and run the ads yourself, because this is when you're going to keep profit margins nice and high, and you can keep them nice and high, and things are going to run smoothly. Client results are going to be very good because you have that experience. You know how to run the ads. And also handling 4 to 5 clients, the time invested into that, the time necessary to handle 4 to 5 clients and ensure that each and every client is operating at the highest level, it's more than doable for one person as an agency owner, and ensuring that it's at the 4 to 5 level. If it gets to 10, that's what I did when I started out. I knew how to run ads, and so I got to 10 clients because I had very much of an ego. I wanted to make sure that I kept every single penny of profit that I could. It didn't end well. Okay, I started to lose a lot of clients. I lost, I think, around 25. Actually, I can't remember. I think it was 25% or 75% of my agency's monthly revenue at the time. It was huge. I think it was 25%, but it was still a huge hit. So I don't recommend getting to 10 clients or anything like that, because you can't handle it. It's impossible to handle 10 client ad accounts as an agency owner with all of the other things that you've got to do and ensure each and every client is operating at the highest possible level. It's too much. Keep it to 4 to 5 clients, and at that point, then you can start to look at outsourcing, and it's at that point that I recommend that you bring on a media buyer. And also another really good thing about that situation, and also the following stages situation, is that you can actually build SOPs around how you're going about getting those results, because you know how to get the results. And you, at that point, you'll have 4 to 5 clients where they're all getting good numbers. You know, they're all spending 1,000 a day, 500 a day, 3,000 a day, and they're all getting 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 ROAS, whatever it is. They're getting good results. They're very, very profitable, and they're very happy. So you know how to do that yourself. And so what you can then do is look at building SOPs around what are you doing when I onboard a client. What are the stages that I'm going through? What am I implementing on? What am I, where am I researching? How am I building this copy that's converting amazingly well? How am I structuring that copy? All of that stuff. Build SOPs around it, because it's at that point that when you bring on a media buyer, you can then really put the traits that do matter in a media buyer. You can put those on a pedestal as opposed to experience, because the experience isn't as valuable to you at that point, right? When you hire a media buyer, it's all about who they are as a person, their personality. Have they got initiative? Are they actively wanting to work for you? Or are they just looking to make money? Or are they just looking to, see how you go about things and then run away in a couple months and steal all of that and build their own agency? You got to look at those things, and those things, you got to value those more than their experience. And if you fall into this first stage, you can value those more than experience, because you can teach them how to run ads. You can teach them and you can ramp them via leveraging those SOPs that you've just built from handling your 4 to 5 clients that are getting amazing results, right? So that's the first stage. You know how to run ads. Go ahead and get 4 to 5 clients on board, and you handle everything. Build SOPs around how you're going about getting those really good results for them. And then from there, bring on a media buyer, ramp them up through those SOPs. And then at that point, you have your media buyer. And that's when I recommend bringing on a media buyer if you fall in that first stage. Now let's have a look at stage number 2. So stage number 2, it's a variant of stage number 1. So the real big difference here is that it's, stage number 1 was looking at experience. You've got that experience in the past. You've spent 10,000, you have brought in 50,000. Now stage number 2 is theory. So you may be a heavy hitter on theory. You've taken all the Facebook ad courses out there. You're confident, and you understand the concepts that go into amazingly successful ads. You understand sales processes. You understand how to craft and construct copy that cuts deep and resonates with an audience, and is able to produce a 4, 5, 6% unique CTR link click, right? You know what goes into getting as much out of your advertising dollars, how you can eke out as much from your advertising dollars in terms of return. Consequently, that obviously driving up ROAS. You know how to do all of this stuff. But the thing is, you've not had the real world experience of implementing on this stuff. Now, as you guys know, theory and real world experience is vastly different.
It's a big difference.
Yeah, it's vastly different. And sometimes you know a lot of stuff from a theoretical point of view, but when you take that to market, or you go to, into the real world, if you like, it's very different. And things are like, it's just very, very different. And so I don't recommend in this situation to get a media buyer on first things first, okay? I still recommend that you get a client roster of 4 to 5 clients on your own, because you're a heavy hitter yourself. You know how to run ads, right? You haven't had that, as I say, real world experience, but you know what goes into it. You know how to navigate through the ads manager. You know how to construct copy. You know what the best creatives are. You know all this stuff because you're a heavy hitter from a theoretical point of view, but you haven't had that first world experience. So what I recommend to do in this situation is you still get your 4 to 5 client roster, but now what you want to do is just simply for your first, I would say 1, 2 clients, right? Maybe even just a first client, but be safe, 2 clients, because again, remember, right? Always do what's in the client's best interest. Always do what's going to get the client the best possible results that you physically can, right? If it means that you're going to have to spend a couple dollars here or there to get client, to increase client results 2 to 10x, then you need to do it, right? I've just invested a pretty heavy amount, and it's a monthly retainer as well, into the creative side of my agency, right? It's quite a bit, but I know it's going to increase client results drastically, right? So I'm more than happy to fork that out of my own pocket. I actually told a client about this new service yesterday on a call last night actually that I had, and he literally told me, he was like, okay, are you guys wanting to restructure the pricing fee so that obviously we can accommodate for the price, because obviously they understood just how valuable it's going to be to them as a business as well. But I said, no, forget the price. I just want to get this software so that it's going to increase results. And as I say, it's coming completely out of my pocket, but I know it's going to it's going to be so valuable for clients, and results are just going to skyrocket, right? Just from this software. Yes, it's a lot, but client results is the main North Star for Bax Consulting. What's in the client's best interest is what's best for everybody. Client obsessed, it's so important. Got to remember this when it comes to this process, okay? Bit off track, I apologize. But if you are a heavy hitter from real world experience, get your first 4 to 5 clients on your own. First 1 to 2 clients, just charge them a bit cheaper, right? Because you don't have that black and white experience. So it's okay to, for your first 1 to 2 clients, simply value the process more than the money that you make from them. Make your money on the 3rd, 4th, 5th client. Once you're ramped, you know now that you can spend 10,000 a month and you can bring in 50,000 a month. You can spend 30,000 a month. You can bring in 100,000 plus a month, right? Whatever it is, you know what to do. And so on those 3rd, 4th, 5th clients, yeah, they're going to get a better service because you're fully ramped by that point, but also consequently, because of that, you can charge more. And so that's where you make your money. But on your first 1 to 2 clients, if you fall into this second segment where you're a heavy hitter on theoretical knowledge, just simply charge a cheaper retainer or just do a very, very low retainer, right? Maybe a 500 or 1,000 a month, and just do a ROAS deal. So that as you start to, apply your theory to the ad account, to real world situations, you're going to start to slowly but surely get better and better and better. And as you do, your compensation goes up as a result because you got that ROAS deal in place, right? Don't charge a huge retainer for that first client if you have no real world experience, because what's going to happen is that you're going to set the bar even higher. The break even is going to ramp up unnecessarily, and then you're going to add extra pressure to yourself. You're going to start to make probably emotional decisions in the ad account. Any emotionally charged decision is never a good decision. And so what's going to happen then is your learning feedback loop is going to get stretched out a lot longer. It's going to take 3 months now for you to really get a solid process down, as opposed to 1 month where it's more performance based, stuff like that. Okay, so do that for your first and second client if you fall into this second segment, and then from there you're gonna build. Again, this is exactly how it ties in with the first segment of people, right? Is you're gonna be able to start building strong service delivery operations, and from there you can start to build SOPs around it once you've proven it in the real world. And then from there it's going to become even easier to, when it does come time to bring on a media buyer, which I recommend to do at the same level, right? 4 to 5 clients. When you bring on a media buyer at that point, it's going to be easy because you can just ramp them up very easily through the SOPs that you have created from real world experience. Okay, now last but not least, this is where majority of you are going to fall into this category right now that I'm going to talk about, segment 3. This is where I would say probably 70 to 80% of you watching this video, this is where you're going to fall into. So this final segment is where you don't know anything about Facebook ads. You don't know how to generate results. You don't really know the first thing. You don't know the first thing to know when it comes to Facebook ads. You don't even know how to navigate through the ads manager. You don't know what an ad set is. You don't know what an ad is. You don't know what a campaign is. You don't know anything, but you want to get into the marketing agency space and you want to run an agency, and you know you can. It's just that you're lacking on this side. So what I recommend to do in this situation, there's 2 steps to this situation. There's a bit more work required from your end because you're starting out from absolutely scratch, but that's okay, because once you go through these 2 steps, you're going to then become fully ramped yourself, and then you can start to implement on the exact same things that we talked about previously in this video. But the first step that you need to do before you even think, before you even think about signing on a client or the best outreach methods or anything like that, you need to do as much research into advertising as you possibly can. You basically now, as I say, there's 2 steps to it. The first step is this section, and really the first step comes down to you becoming somebody who would then fall into the second segment that I talked about, of becoming a heavy hitter from a theoretical knowledge point of view on Facebook ads and advertising as a whole, right? Because advertising as a whole, that's the fundamental, that's evident across all channels, and then it's just about learning how Facebook works over Google or how YouTube works over Pinterest or whatever. But once you understand those fundamentals, it's going to be pretty easy at that point to transition from median to median. And what's going on in the world right now with iOS 14 and all this stuff, it's going to be good to be at least have the ability to jump from platform to platform. Anyway, you need to get to the second segment of people. You need to become a heavy hitter in theoretical knowledge. Now you need to do this through both paid medians and free medians. If you have no money whatsoever and you cannot sacrifice stuff and all that type of stuff, I understand some people, situations are slightly more difficult than others. That's fine. There's enough free value on YouTube, on Facebook groups, on forums, on Pinterest, and all this these different places. It just is going to take time. It's going to be a time investment. But if you've got no money, then you've got time, right? And so that's what you need to do. That's the first step. Become a heavy hitter from a theoretical standpoint. Then the second step is to hire a media buyer straight off the bat. The first two segments of people could do it at 4 to 5 clients, but in this situation, you've got to hire somebody straight off the bat. You need a heavy hitter in your corner, and you need a quote unquote been there, done that person on your team from an advertising perspective. If you don't have this person, you will not be able to get results. It's going to be very hard, and what you're going to end up doing is using the client as basically a test subject for you to test your knowledge and figure out what works and what doesn't and all this different type of stuff. Now, there's an element to that for every client of testing and this and that, but it's different when you don't know what you're doing, right? If you don't know what you're doing, then you're just basically almost lighting the client's money on fire. And as I said at the start of the video, you always need to do what's in the client's best interest. So if you're in this segment of people, it's completely fine. Become a heavy hitter in theoretical knowledge and hire a media buyer straight off the bat, okay? Because that is going to enable you to have somebody on your team who's been there, done that. They're going to know exactly how to get results. And in this situation, you need to value their experience more so than you do the actual traits that make up of a good media buyer. As I said before, things like initiative, you know, their kind of just will to want to work, you know, and all that type of stuff. There's a lot of stuff that goes into making a good media buyer, and skill set is actually at the bottom. However, if you're in this third segment of people, then you need to put skill set on the top. Forget about everything else for now. You obviously you want to make sure that they're a good fit for you like them and all that type of stuff. That stuff's always going to be important, but you need to value their skill more because that is what you need from them, okay? And then at the point that you start to work with 2-3 clients, again, you're going to be able to learn a lot more from real world experience. You're going to be able to go into the ads manager for your clients and see what this been there, done that hire is doing, this been there, done that media buyer that you brought on board. You're going to see what they're doing, how they're getting the results that they're getting. And then from there, what you can do is, again, build SOPs around how you're getting the results so that when you do actually hire a media buyer who is 100% perfect and you just need to train them up on the skill section of their ability, then you can just put them through those SOPs that have been pulled from direct ad accounts where you're spending X amount and you're bringing in, 4 or 5 times that. And that's how you hire the perfect media buyer, because the perfect media buyer does not exist out there. I can guarantee you it. There's not somebody out there who's got the best experience. They 100% know how to get the best physical results, right? And from a personality standpoint and all that type of stuff, they're perfect as well. They don't exist, right? It just doesn't happen, because if they do, they're working with an agency, or maybe they have their own agency. And yeah, obviously if they have their own agency, then they're not a good fit for your agency. But yeah, you get my point, okay? So that is when you should hire a media buyer. I think I've covered every stage. Like if you are a beginner agency owner, maybe you've got a client, or maybe, you whatever, any stage that you're at with your agency, I think you would most definitely fall into one of those 3 segments. I hope I've covered it. If I didn't and you're in a slightly different position, drop a comment below and I'll see what would make most sense for your specific position. But I think I've covered it. And so as I mentioned at the start of the video, if you did find value, take the split second to smash the like button and subscribe to the channel. It hugely helps out with the YouTube algorithm, helps me push these videos out to more people, and essentially makes me help more people as well. So with that being said, I hope you found value as always, and I'll see you inside of the next video.